So just I'll say a few words about satsang. So satsang is life. It's reality, it's truth. It's being as presence, not being as a borrowed character, not being present as a personality, as a particular persona or as a particular person with a particular history, but it is being present as presence. So satsang is presence, and presence is the reality of all experiences. It is via presence, meaning via awareness, via consciousness, via beingness, that everything phenomenal is known. So all phenomenal impressions are known via presence, and presence is self-knowing, knows itself, meaning you know you are aware, you know you are present, and meaning you know you are presence. And the way you know that you are awareness, that you are aware, is directly, is not via the mind, it's not via hearsay, it's not via a borrowed belief, it's a direct knowledge, direct knowingness. When you ask yourself, am I aware? The answer directly comes from awareness itself. Yes, of course I am. So presence, awareness, beingness is the reality of all experiences. And it is that which does not come and go. Of course, thoughts, perceptions, and sensations come and go. Memories, feelings, emotions come and go. Bodily sensations, world perceptions, constantly changing. That's the impermanent realm that appears in and as that which does not come and go. Now, in the heart of satsang is self-knowingness, meaning knowing yourself as that presence. So in satsang, your mind ceases, comes to the stillness, comes to the center, which is complete stillness, clarity, effortless clarity, freedom, meaning borderless, no walls. Unstirred by thoughts, perceptions, events, situations. And yet, fully involved and engaged in the world body-mind as its creator, not as its subject, not as an object, but as the reality of the world body-mind impressions. Like in your night dream, you dream infinite dreams, the substance of the dreams being yourself. Similarly, in the waking state, the world body-mind impressions arise out of you, and they're made out of you. you as presence, as awareness, as consciousness. Not you as a man, not you as a woman. Men and woman, gender, space and time events appear to you like in your night dream. All sorts of impressions appear to you. Their substance is you, the aware presence, the borderless aware presence. Knowing yourself as that aware presence, and knowing that this aware presence that you are is borderless, is not personal, is universal, is the experience of peace and happiness. The peace and happiness that does not come and go. The peace and happiness that does not depend on the size of your bank account, doesn't depend on your health, doesn't depend on your achievements, doesn't depend on how many people love you or like you. It's a peace and happiness that is a complete freedom, meaning it is completely unconditioned, depending on no conditions, without depending on any condition. So the spiritual quest is to come to this revelation as your own experience, as your own truth, that I am that. I am this universal, borderless presence. And the revelation of causeless peace and happiness that does not come and go as you realize yourself to be the reality. So it's best if you have any questions that you would like to explore. Rather than giving a talk about non-duality.
This is Ananda.
Hello, Ananda.
Hello. I've given up on trying to pronounce it the correct way that we talked about one time. So we go with just Ananda.
Yes.
You mentioned that the peace of reality does not depend on conditions. Now that seems clear. No particular condition is necessary. The thing of interest to me at the moment is I read such eloquent statements about in the quiet, in the stillness is where it's revealed. So where no particular conditions are required, well, maybe that sounds like a condition, quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does sound like a condition. This is what it's revealed as the stillness, not in the stillness, not in the silence. It's revealed as that, as the stillness, as the emptiness, the full emptiness, as the emptiness of the dreamer, and yet the fullness of the dream, But it's not the fullness of the dream, it's the fullness of peace and happiness and joy and bliss. It's not the fullness of the impressions. It's really the fullness of the peace and the love and the bliss of the self, the Satchit Ananda, the fullness of the Ananda, of the bliss, of the knowingness. So yes, that's a good point, Ananda. It's not revealed in the stillness, it's not revealed in the silence, it's revealed as that. Mm-hmm. So it is the silence, it is the stillness that speaks, and the stillness that hears. In ignorance, there is a superimposition of truth with the mind. So consciousness being truth, being the wholeness of being, not a thing, not an experience. The mind, in ignorance, the mind superimposes something, some object, some form on top of consciousness, on top of reality, on top of truth, on top of emptiness. And in this case, the case that you're bringing up, it's now bringing in a certain situation, the situation of the silent room or the silent space or the silent mind or the silent, as a condition. And yes. So absolute conditionlessness, something like that. No, absolute absence, complete absence of condition is the reality of reality, of consciousness. It is beyond conditions. So the conditions arise in the phenomenal world. Yeah. So for example, you need a certain amount of heat to boil the water. Okay. So water will transform into steam. There is a condition of a certain excitation of the molecules that will get so excited, and then they will break up from the bond, the tight bond, ice or water bond, into the vapor excitation. All conditions apply to the phenomenal realm. Now, having said that, until the revelation of the conditionlessness of the self is revealed, we turn our attention towards God, towards truth. So we actually, you could say that we are exerting a certain activity. There is a certain activity which would be a condition towards God. But all conditions, all activities that we undergo towards the revelation of the truth, towards the revelation of the universality of consciousness, are inspired by love for truth. Well, all love is love for truth. All love is love for truth.
All love is
all love is love for truth. All love is love for reality. So when we are loving somebody, we are loving the reality in them. We're loving the love in them. We're loving the beauty in them. Now, the beauty is the beauty of consciousness. It's not the beauty of a person. It's the beauty of consciousness. It's the glow of consciousness, meaning when the mind is not cluttered, is free of all judgment, then we perceive beauty, you see? So we perceive beauty. We don't perceive fat, thin, tall, blonde, black, and white. We're perceiving beauty. So there are certain practices that are still in the conditional realm, but they're inspired by the divine. And they're good direction to follow, especially when you're having the guidance of your teacher, to follow these practices, even though at the mind level they still seem to have a causal relationship.
Right.
Because they will lead you to the causeless. Because your teacher only is interested in taking you to the causeless, meaning in the revelation of the reality of consciousness, the revelation of truth, the revelation of the self. Not interested in you having a certain experience. So it goes beyond that.
Mm. Interesting that you know, using the term teacher, and you sometimes use the term guru in writings anyway.
Yes.
And I've noticed over the time, unfolding of time, that sometimes when I'm in some kind of an inspired state, in meditation or in the woods or something, maybe sitting, and then I think, I remember like the songs of Milarepa. My teacher sits above my head in perfect lotus pose, inspiring me. You know, I think that in these sort of pivotal moments, that my mind goes to who seems to have clarity about where I'm going. What is this that I'm gonna? What's that breakthrough or final clarity that I'm seeking? And then sometimes it kind of surprises me. It's not a poem. It's not sayings of Lao Tzu. it's an image of a, in my case it could be Jean Klein. It could be yourself. I have another friend who is very clear. Prasanna is his name. These images come as like, what better can I do than picture that portal almost?
Yes.
To it.
Yes. So these are portals. As you say, this portal is sort of a portal into yourself, into your true self. Yes. And it's a portal from the self to the self. So it's not a portal from an image of Jean Klein or a certain statue or something you read. It's actually the self itself that's revealing itself. And so it might reveal itself in an image of Jean Klein at that moment. And so what matters is the shining light, not the image, the shining light. At that moment, the message has been delivered. Because if you don't receive the message, then you go for the object, you see? You go for the object. What matters is, beautiful, it's beautiful. The degustation, the cooks a meal, and then you savor the meal, and what matters is the savoring of the meal. That's it. That's the gift of the cook, of the chef. It's a meal is cooked out of love and out of their own freedom and love for creating and for sharing and offering. And you receive that gift of love, and that is where you are that love. And this is experience of love. And it can be, next time it could be totally different portal. It could be, you could be just walking in the street and you hear a dog barking. And, this is it resonates at that level that completely bypasses the mind. So Having said that, there are certain mirrors that reflect the light, that are dust-free mirrors. There are certain expressions that are inspired by the divine. Well, it could be through an inspiration in an artist creates a certain form, a certain painting or a certain piece of music, or cooks a certain meal that is has in it that divine inspiration. And when you are in the presence of such an expression that is coming through a form, but it's the source being the other, then you find yourself in that place that is beyond the mind, in that place of stillness and beingness. And it's they're like gifts, you know. They're God is spraying. It's the gold, the magic dust. What is it called? The gold dust onto the universe, and it comes your way. But the revelation is always pointing to yourself, as this borderless presence, to yourself as this freedom, as this mysterious and mystical beauty and love, this effortless universal presence. The revelation is of yourself, from yourself, to yourself, yourself as being this universal self, not a contained self, not a limited self, but a universal self, the self of love, the self of presence, the self of beingness, the unconditional self. And all impressions, they're impressions of limitations, whether they're at the body level or at the thinking level, dissolve in that presence. They cannot stay as rigid forms in this borderless presence. Mm-hmm. So whenever you turn your attention to the borderless presence of awareness, meaning the reality that perceives this perception right now, it's borderless presence. Mm-hmm. Whenever you go to this borderless presence, all forms dissolve in this presence. The bodily sensation in your belly dissolve in this presence. The breath fills the space. The mind relaxes in the presence. The body loses its sense of borders. Everything comes to the peace of presence. So always turn your attention to that, to the loving presence. The loving presence that is not trying to survive. That's a different dimension. That's the man or the woman in the world and have to survive, have to struggle. None of these impressions.
So there's this beautiful directness I see from the beginning of your speaking just now. The conditions, if something is a condition of moving towards something beautiful, that's an appealing condition. I mean, but there's always the option of, before condition even was thought of. In other words, right now, the piece and everything you're talking about is self-free of conditions, and the ideation that some condition is going to be better is downstream from here.
Yeah. Yes. So you start from the recognition of the love and the beauty. And so you go to the object, towards the object of love and beauty, to recognize you're recognizing the self, you're recognizing yourself. So you're not recognizing a beautiful object, you're recognizing beauty. And when you recognize beauty, you're not recognizing beauty out there. You're recognizing beauty, always it's recognized in here. To recognize the taste of chocolate ice cream, you bring it right here, you savor it, and it melts in your mouth. It's not out there, you see? It's not at the ice cream store. It's in your savoring, yes? So when you recognize a beautiful object, you're actually not recognizing a beautiful object. You're recognizing beauty. So it comes to you, it actually comes from you. So the impression is that it comes to you from somewhere, you see, and then, it landed. But when it landed and you recognize, it's beauty, how do you recognize its beauty? You only recognize it is beauty because you know beauty. And how do you know beauty? Because beauty is right here. Love is right here, is what I am. So coming back to you start from the beauty, the love, the peace, the presence. So you're not seeking it out there, you're celebrating it out there. So you might go to the museum and just have a really wonderful time enjoying some beautiful paintings, You're celebrating, but you are not going to get something. You're not going to see something or to fill a gap. So you start from the fullness and the wholeness. You're not seeking it. Because when you are seeking it, then there is an inherent assumption that you are lacking. So where does this assumption that you are lacking come from? It requires your belief.
In limitation.
Yes, it requires your belief in limitation. And what makes you believe, let's say choose to believe that you are limited? It is because you identify yourself with a mortal body-mind. Mortal body-minds are limited.
Mm-hmm.
Or you identify yourself with some form, whatever it is, a consciousness that's alive for 80, 70, 80 years and it's going to die. So, but who is forcing you to identify with the body-mind?
Mm. There's no villain out there. There's no.
But yet, we do believe that we are a body-mind. We do identify with the body-mind, and so we do experience limitation, and we do seek wholeness and fullness. But the question, if you go back, you sort of disrobe the puppet, you come to some sort of ghost inside, and you ask the ghost, well, wait a minute, what's forcing you to adopt this belief? Because this belief is in contradiction with my experience, because my experience right now is that of presence.
Right.
My experience right now is of non-containment. I'm not experiencing or perceiving that I am inside a container. I look around, I see this room arising in awareness. I look at my hand, I see this perception arising in awareness, meaning in me. I don't see myself inside anything. I rub my hands together, I perceive a bodily sensation arising in awareness. So I come to the conclusion that right now my experience is that of presence. I am presence. So given that my experience is that I am presence, and I look around and I see no borders to this presence, I see a border to this wall, I see a border to this hand, to this finger, but I don't see a border to presence. Because presence is not phenomenal. It's not a phenomenal event, like a table or like a tree or like a thought. It's non-phenomenal. And I recognize myself in this very moment that I am this presence. So in that moment, I can release this belief. I can drop it. That I am immortal body-mind.
It's like it's like you talk to the ghost.
Yes.
In there
Yes.
and say, you know,
Yes.
you're not my mentor anymore.
Yes, I am this freedom. I am this pure presence. You have to trust that. Trust your experience. Teacher is only pointing you to that you are. It's not telling you to go discover something on top of Mount Himalaya. No. It's pointing directly to the wholeness of being that you are. You see? You seek God, but you are God. You seek truth, but you are truth. You seek peace and happiness, but you are peace and happiness. Not as a man, not as a limited character, not as a bag of flesh and bones.
No, it's interesting that you use the term bag of flesh and bones which, it's like, I remember a Tibetan Lama said to my friend, you should meditate on the putrefaction of your body and all that, and he said, but I'm so in love with this manifestation. I'm so happy with my tantra of life. And the teacher said, oh, well, you're that type. You don't contemplate that you're putrid. This was Mark Allen, a friend of ours who wrote a book called Tantra for the West years ago. So, and then I know, you aside from wisdom sayings, you both mainly post yourself and Tara in a joyful moments together. So I'm just looking at that. What do I don't know how to more subtly process the idea of bag of bones. And transiency I can see, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, your experience of the bag of bones is using that expression is your experience of the body.
Yes.
Is as your direct experience of the body is a borderless body. It's a cosmic body.
Yes. Yes.
It's sort of the body as presence, the body as the universe. So the reality of the body and the reality of the universe with which is constantly interacting is that one reality. It's an interactive system. It's the universe and the body are one system, sort of. Your lungs and the air and the fluids in the body and the rivers and the streams and the moisture that the body needs, and so it's an interconnected system. So your experience of the body is not of a separate body. Yeah? The experience of the body is of an interconnected system, and the reality of both the body and the universe are that one reality. So we refer to the identification with the body as when somehow we separate some part of the universal experience into a segment and say, well, okay, there is a certain part that is me and another part that is not me. So we say, okay, there is this set of sensations that is me, and the other set of sensations is not me. So, like, for example, the perception of the stars. Okay, it's a perception. We say, oh, this is not me, and then we say, okay, the perception of my head. Well, that's me. You see, so there is a sort of an artificial separation of this cosmic system that is interactive, that is purely optional and it doesn't have, like, there isn't much happiness in it. What's the point? I mean, why would you separate yourself from the universe? How could you exist without the galactic systems? How could our galaxy exist without the surrounding galaxies that are in relations with the Andromeda galaxy? How could it? So when you contemplate this model, then the model of a separate subset of experiences being separate from other subsets of experiences, etc., is an archaic model.
Archaic and parochial.
So, and then when you contemplate your experience, you find, like, in the directness of your experience, before the belief systems come in place, there isn't an actual experience of separation, except for the old habitual sense of me, that when you contemplate it, you find that it's just an old echo.
Now, I find that human preoccupation with mating behavior, even into our 60s, me, is probably an attempt to find unity when it's not known. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lifelong coexistence of so-called what I call spiritual and what I call relational fascination.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing for quite some time that the spiritual, the ultimate reality contains the whole picture,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they're both in terms of running the biocomputer.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're on a kind of equal par. I'll go from one to the other.
Yeah. They're not separate. I
Mm.
mean, the particular path and the particular turn that uh, that appears to you might be different and actually differs from the particular way and the details and the qualities that and the experiences that appear to me. So there isn't like a general one path that applies to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
but everything that appears in your space is interconnected. It's one your spiritual path and your relational path
Mm-hmm.
are interconnected. They feed each other. So what occurs in your relational space
Mm-hmm.
leads you to contemplation,
Mm-hmm.
and your contemplation affects your relational state. So they're working together. They're working together. It's so the once you start understanding the interconnection between your spiritual exploration and your life, your relations,
Yeah.
you start to take note. You start to
Mm-hmm.
take note and to become wise to to how you live, how you act, how you relate. Um, but the key thing is when you come upon the non-dual teaching that as long as you relate from the assumption that you are a person, that this consciousness, this aware presence, is a person, is a limited consciousness, you will encounter in your life a disturbance that you try to fill up, that you try to cover up, that you try to fulfill in your life. And the fulfillment of that sense of lack will not come to you from your life. It will not come to you from relationships. It will not come to you from altering your relationships. It will not come to you from having more relationships. It will not come to you from having better sexual relationship or better. It will not come to you from that. It will come to you from your understanding, that this belief that I'm a separate person that consciousness is mortal, is flawed. And as you contemplate that this belief system that has no evidence to support it, it loses its grip onto you. The sense that I'm this limited mortal body mind will loosen, and then in your relationships there will be that quality of ease and well-being and love. And so the attraction and the sweetness that you will experience in your life will come from your contemplation, via your contemplation. And so you will experience more and more happiness, more and more ease of being, more and more, joy in your relationships with men, with women, whatever, with friends, whichever relationships that you have, will have this sweet quality. Now, so relationships can be teacher. The way they teach you is by the difficulties that you have in them. When you have difficulties in your relationships, you, instead of finding fault out there or finding fault with me as a person, you need to come to the contemplation of, am I at this moment, in the moment of this difficulty, am I at this moment taking on the assumption and the beliefs that I am a person, a man or woman, and the other is a man or a woman, a separate. That is the contemplation you need to come to, rather than going to the old tapes of, well, the fault is out there or the fault is in here.
Or let's work it out better. So.
Yes. Rather than doing a psychological analysis, go to the contemplation.
Oh, and the beauty, and see the beauty in this.
Yes, right.
It's a complicated moment.
Yes.
There's beauty. Yeah.
Well, in the complicated moment, we have stepped slightly away from God. Because a complicated moment only reflects a person who wants something different, a person who wants somebody else to be different, a person who wants the situations to be different. Because if you really don't want anything to be different, what's complicated?
And what's not beautiful?
And what's not beautiful? So, like right now, we don't want anything different. So it's just simply, it's a simple ease of being. You see, and so you don't want anything from me, I don't want anything from you. We're just enjoying each other's companies as good friends, truth lovers. So in that way, we want to see each other. We enjoy each other. You see.
Well, I think what happens in some of these other relationships is there are compensatory mechanisms in play for why I'm not happy already.
Yes. Yes.
And
there's always there's always a me in there, like I as a me.
Yes.
Because unhappiness doesn't exist in presence. It only exists in the me, in this belief structure. There's somebody that is unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there has to be a somebody. But right now, what is the somebody? Is there a somebody right now? If you look around, where is there a somebody? You have to go to thought to come to a somebody. Somebody, oh, me, I am here.
Dredge up the story, even if it's
Yes.
even if it's an hour ago, it's still dredge it up.
Yes, you have to dredge up the story. But in having this conversation, there is nobody. It's just consciousness talking to itself.
And then if these are such personal matters, like. But I love the reality of talking about it. I mean, it's almost what could be in the Cosmopolitan magazine, but looked at from a completely different angle. Like this is so compelling, tends to be so compelling. One of the things that happens with me is, as I get close with someone, something becomes really real in terms of a relational beauty. Then comes the discussion about, well, am I in love with you or do I just love you? Because if I'm in love with you, then it's going to become a disaster. If I love you, then I can remain spacious, for example. I know that's psychological.
In love there is no me and you. It's not like wanting something.
Yes.
Wanting something is a different mechanism.
Which has usurped the words "I love you" often, or "I love," yeah.
I mean, we can say I love you, but what matters is the deep understanding that love is not from one person to another person. Love is the reality of consciousness. Love is what we truly are, and the shadow is, oh, me, or do you love me? Or if you love me, then why didn't you come and meet me at 4 o'clock at this? Well, how come you were 15 minutes late? And okay, well, you love me, then when are you going to do this and that and that? If you really love, you see, this is the shadow. So when we love, then there is no me and no you. We just love. It's just love. We're dissolved in love. We can't stop thinking about each other. We're even if I don't see you, I'm drunk with you. I am full of you. You're inside. You're in me. I'm in you. Just like that. There isn't. Okay, I could be 100 miles away from you. I still love you. And then when I see you, it's like, oh God, it's a great celebration. I want to touch you, hug you, kiss you. Now, so in love, it's just complete absence of any separation. But then, because we're still in the contemplation, we're not stabilized in that. Then the me comes in, the thought comes in. Oh, he should do this and that. He should have done this.
You brought us back to the essence of my question, is then to say, to kind of maybe stumble a little forward more than is real, and saying, I really love you, because that seems to open the space for it's not really totally there, but that opens the space for it to be there. Like, oh, you can trust me. We can trust each other. It can be precipitous.
If you are waiting for love from somebody else, you're in trouble. So love comes from your own understanding, and then love just is there. It is actually there, but your own understanding is that it's not that it might happen. You see, so you're looking for when it might happen, and because of that, you're like waiting for where is the love, but love is there. So you have to recognize first that love is there in your complete freedom. Then you can love a tree, you can love this room, you can love the house, you can contemplate God. That's the highest love. Is you contemplate love, you contemplate the universe, you look at the stars. It's all love. You see, and then whoop, you find somebody, a partner that and but you suddenly you're both together, and it's one more way of celebrating the love that you are. You see, it's not like, oh, I was not in love and now I'm in love. You see,
that's it. Yeah,
that's a pretty miserable way of living. I'm not in love. Oh, now I'm in love. Oh my God, my lover left me. Now I'm not in love again, or I'm missing my love. And
or the precipice is right here somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. I'm going to fall off any minute.
Yes, yes. It's like your life. You're walking on a tightrope. No, 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 no. You see, but there might be some habitual tendencies. You might need to change your habits. You might need to change in your living habits. You might need to make a change. You might.
What do you? In what way are you imagining that?
So you can challenge yourself in the relationship. You challenge yourself in your relationship by refusing in the relationship to acknowledge it too. To acknowledge it too.
Oh.
You refuse in the relationship to acknowledge it too. You say, no.
There's no two.
It's a relationship of two. I refuse a relationship of two.
That's great. That's great. Last time we talked, you suggested don't use I and me or mine, and just apply it all over the place when you don't really mean it with your heart. Huh?
I don't remember what I suggested, but so your partner might be too distant from that, too far from that.
That was my next question. What if they because they say to me, and this has happened several times, they say to me, I finally found someone who can meet me. And I go, but you can't really meet me.
Well, a true meeting, in a true meeting, there is no me and you. So it's still A meeting B. It's still two.
Yes.
So when you say yes, but you cannot meet me, you're still maintaining the two. So, when the other person says, oh, I finally found somebody that can meet me, yes. Maybe they are inviting you to recognize the one. And you can say, oh, okay, yes. Well, there is no two.
Okay.
But
so and see where it goes from there.
And see where it goes from there. But if you really are interested in a serious exploration in a relationship, yes, then you have to go to the one. You have to go to a relationship of one, two as one, not two as two, not I'm meeting you, you're meeting me. Because if I'm meeting you and you're meeting me, well, maybe I'm not meeting you correctly, maybe I'm not meeting you on time, maybe I'm meeting you now, but then, oh, gee, now I'm not meeting you, 10 minutes later I'm meeting you again.
Yes. Well, our friend Marjorie, who's on this Hangout right now,
yes.
she and I have that for a long time. We've had that knowledge, you know, that we're not two. It's a wonderful, wonderful. We were sweethearts in 1970, late 70s,
Yes.
and we have that. So I'm not unfamiliar with it
Yes.
in a love relationship.
Yeah. You see, a relationship, can also be a place of contemplation. Of course, the highest place of contemplation is in oneself. We're contemplating the self within oneself. But in a relationship too, it can be, that's not very common, but it can be a relationship where in the relationship, the highest priority in the relationship is the contemplation. The highest love in the relationship is the contemplation, not my love for you and your love for me, but our shared love for the contemplation of truth. Because in love, there are no borders, and in the contemplation of truth, there are no borders. In the contemplation of truth, we are one, and that is love. When we are one, it is love. Then we can celebrate. Everything is a celebration. Looking at your face is celebration. Cooking for you is celebration. Going for a walk together is celebration. And celebration even when your partner goes away for a couple of weeks. I'm happy you're doing what you love. There's a little freedom in the relationship. Freedom is celebrating the freedom. Complete freedom.
And then I'm just going to go back for a moment. What you said about say the person I'm approaching says, "Oh, you're able to meet me. This is amazing. I've always wanted this."
That's beautiful.
They're actually saying, "I'm inviting you to be one if you want."
Beautiful. Yes.
And regardless of how it actually. Maybe their spiritual maturity is somewhere, who knows where, but still the invitation is from that essence, place.
Yes.
That's what makes for love.
Yes, I mean, love, when we say, okay, we're in love or we're experiencing love, it's actually, we've already accepted the invitation. Because we can only experience love when the invitation has already been accepted. We've already met. When you're feeling the love, you've already met. And then who knows how it goes, and later on maybe then all your conditioning and your partner's conditioning might arise, and then when it arises, if it's possible, you're not too far apart in your love for truth, then you can come together and contemplate what is the issue, contemplate what's going on, and
let's look at this. Do we want this? Do we want this little me impression stuff to override and derail?
You got it. You're right. That's a very good question, because if you do want that, then it's going to be downhill across the, because that me is whiny.
This is wonderful to go through all my files. You could have like files of issues, and somehow it goes. They all be thrown to the.
Well, yeah. This is we're living all these ideas, these notions, these beliefs, and at the same time we love truth. So where is the best place to live our love for truth than in our life? It's a good place to live it, and to live it, you have to really take to heart your understanding and live your understanding.
Yes.
Because the conditioning is always there. It's always there, ready to, ready to, yeah. Okay, and that is
Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice. Hey, Isaac, okay. Isaac writes, one has an image of how happiness should feel, but is never reached. Yeah, one has an image of how happiness should feel, but is never reached. We all know happiness. You know, Isaac, happiness is not a mystery to us. We seek happiness, but of course we know happiness, because if we didn't know happiness, we wouldn't know what we are seeking. But you ask anybody, what is it that you're seeking? What is it that you really love? And they would say, happiness. So they say happiness, I say happiness because I know happiness. If I know happiness, that means happiness cannot be out there. If I know it, I can speak of it. Happiness is just this beauty, this love, this really, it's indescribable, but yet I know it. I know I cannot maybe describe it in words, but I know it as the love, as the beauty, as the joy, as the freedom. All of that is happiness. But we somehow limit our happiness whenever we place a condition upon our happiness, like it has to be more money, it has to be a better partner, it has to be living in a different city, whatever condition, which is, nobody's imposing this onto us, this condition. Somehow, at some level, we must be, in a way, partners in choosing this condition. And the main effect of placing a condition is it limits our happiness, and now our experience is that there is something that we must attain in order to become happy sometime in the future, of course, because now we don't have that object or that situation, that experience we want. So in a way, we're projecting a future happiness while we are living now. We're not living in the future. We're in presence now. So what about happiness now? You see? So then we contemplate, well, what about happiness now? So we find that I have to relax my conditions. I have to let go of the idea of me in the future, or something in the future for me. And then I come to this presence right now, this very clear, unencumbered, open spaces, completely has no conditions at all. No, there isn't any judgment. There isn't anything being condemned. It's just the mind is tranquil and at peace and at ease and at rest in the presence, and it's in love. It is love. It's loving whatever is unfolding. It's an appreciation, and in a way like an effortless surrender, effortless relaxation. And in this presence, I am this presence. I am this presence not as a feeling, not as an idea or an image of how presence is or should be, but as an the actual presence, actual, not, it's not like an experience that you can describe. It is actually just a borderless openness, a sense of freedom and beingness. And so the mind can come to dissolve and relax in this presence, and your body is invited to relax, you know, your belly, your shoulders, your chest, your neck, your face, invited to sort of no barriers, so it can like dissolve and can flow through your skin, through the room, through the space, through the ground. It's just an expansion of your being in this presence. So your body becomes a transparent, a cosmic body, universal body. And your heart is just an infinite heart. It's a vast heart full of, it's all love. It's just all beautiful peace and happiness that's shining onto the world, shining onto everything and everybody. You're a gift to the universe in that you're contemplating the truth, but your contemplation of the truth will take you beyond yourself, beyond the person, beyond any personal interest or any personal ambition, because it's going to take you beyond your limitlessness, beyond the impression, beyond your sense of limitation. It's going to reveal to you that you're not a limited man or a woman or a person or a body or a son or a daughter or a father. You're none of that. You are presence that is celebrating everything, and at the same time celebrating, you know, this appearance of a male body, and this appearance of friends and a home and nature and birds and trees and weather and whatever is appearing in a celebratory space. You know yourself to be that celebratory space, and you're okay with everything that unfolds at the body-mind level. The body-mind level chooses Magdi, chooses Isaac. It doesn't matter. It's the same chooser choosing everybody. You know, Ellen, Mary, Joe, and all these. We all have different shapes and faces and sounds and forms and so on. But these forms and shapes and sounds they appear to us while we are this open, borderless presence. So that you can relax around you as a person. Invite that to come to the presence that perceives it, the presence that knows it. I don't know if I went away from your question. So it's happiness is never reached. You are right, Isaac, because happiness is what we are. You see, whatever you reach, it's something in the future. And in a way, Isaac, when you are seeking something, you're feeling maybe that like you need something to change. So there is some sort of personal desire. And so you do your best to fulfill this desire. And when your desire is fulfilled, at that moment, you are desireless. You are free of desire. And in that moment of freedom of desire is happiness. So happiness is the freedom of desire. It's not about being violent towards your desires. No. Desires, you can let them be whatever they are. But it's important that you contemplate that happiness is when a desire comes to zero. It just, so why delay? Why wait 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, to come to happiness? Why not invite right here, right now, the desires to come to their desirelessness? Now, a desire will not come to desirelessness as long as you keep believing yourself to be a phenomenal event, a body-mind. Because when you identify with the body-mind has needs. Food, shelter, clothing, social relationships, sexual relationships, travel relationships, etc., companionship. So these phenomenal conditions apply to the body-mind. And the body-mind is a cosmic event. The body-mind is interconnected with the entire cosmos. And the body-mind is in the hands of its creator. It is part of the cosmic order that is taking care of how the hair grows and the nail grows and the supernovas explode and the streams and the rain and the weather. These sort of conditions that apply to the body-mind, to the world, apply as well to your body. You see? So your body, in a way, is taken care of by the universe, and including the thoughts that come to you about your body, not as an identification, but for example, you might feel hunger. When you feel hunger, then the thought of food might arise. You see? That also is part of this cosmic order. It's the universe thinking through you. It's the universe that is thinking. It's the universe that is experiencing this hunger and that is thinking, oh, okay, time to cook a meal. You see? So the universe is taking care of the body-mind needs. You know, the needs for relations, for shelter, for clothing. The universe takes care of that, but so you can trust the universe in that, and contemplate that all these experiences that are arising to you, all these perceptions, sensations, feelings, are arising to you. You are that reality that without which nothing is possible. What would be an experience of hunger, a sensation of hunger, without you as awareness? What would be a feeling for relationship or companionship without the awareness? Awareness is you. I am aware. I am awareness. Recognize that you are this awareness, and then you can tend to the images that arise, to the sensations that arise, whether it's experiences of hunger or need for food, shelter, or clothing, or relationship. You tend to these phenomenal experiences out of your beingness, not out of a sense of lack or some sense of danger or some imminent sense of loss. No, you tend to the needs of the body-mind out of your intelligence and wisdom and love. And at the body-mind level, there are sometimes some situations that take time. And that's okay, because you can enjoy whatever is unfolding for you. You can enjoy that. And if your heart is open and wishing for whatever it's wishing for, you enjoy that wish, not without any sense of despair, without adding anything unhappy. You enjoy that wish, and you celebrate that wish and see how it unfolds. Remain with the love, with the joy, with the happiness, with the beauty. Remain with that. Don't give yourself to a sense of despair or need or imminent threat, because what you are as presence, as consciousness, is never threatened. And the body-mind is the body-mind. It's an impermanent event. But we do our best with it now. Yeah. Okay, Isaac. Nice to see you. Okay, well, thank you very much for your lovely presence and this lovely time we spent together. It's beautiful. We'll see you next week. Okay, thank you. Bye, Isaac. See you, Ananda, and everybody.